Why did the math book look sad? Because it had too many problems. Daichi opens the door to his gaming room excited to play the latest VR MMO despite being a 38-year-old salaryman. It's an escape for him as it makes him feel young and capable of doing the impossible. He boots up the game and is greeted by the character creator. He chooses the name Earth and creates a young-looking avatar. His in-game person doesn't stand out because he's not the type to be a main character. Daichi can only play for 2 to 3 hours a day because of his job and feels like it could cause trouble for other players if he tried to play with them. So he is already expected to play solo most of the time. To further deter himself from being invited to a party, he chooses skills like archery despite bows having bad accuracy. The next skill he equips is medicine, which is worthless because potions are cheap from NPCs. His kick skill has no special attacks and his wind magic is weak against fire and earth spells. His sneak ability has high MP cost and loses effectiveness when the player moves, but the improved physical abilities skill gives a bounce though not significant. He adds long-distance vision, production fingertips, woodworking, and cooking. Out of these 10 skills, 6 of them are underpowered. With everything confirmed, he jumps into the game world. The concept of the game allows players to freely do whatever they want. Since it's the launch day, the starting area is packed and Earth notices that he's the only archer. He is knocked over by Ward, who calls him a loser and mocks him for choosing a bow as his primary weapon because everyone knows that they are useless. But Ward chose to shop like a billionaire and buy that helmet from Tammy looking like a Wish version of Galactus. He ironically kicks Earth to the earth, which makes his party to laugh as they leave. Earth heads to the training hall and is inspired by all the players who are hard at work honing their skills. He goes to the range to get some practice, but his first shot is abysmal. He can see that the bow is even worse than people say it is, but doesn't get deterred and carries on shooting. By his 100th shot, he hits the targets and levels the archery skill by 5. He practices his wind magic and gets that to the same level. Earth moves to work on his kicks and upgrades that to level 5 too. He decides to head out into the world after attaining the minimum level to survive. His excitement is quickly shattered when he steps out to see that the hunting grounds are overcrowded, causing people to fight among themselves just to hunt monsters. He opts to focus on gathering herbs and utilizes his long-distance vision to locate some. He begins to harvest them, but does not know what they are. So Earth heads back to the city to appraise them. He struggles at first but gets the hang of it and categorizes them, allowing his medicine skill to increase to level 3. He accidentally picked the suffocation herb, which causes the one who ingests it to stop breathing and meet their maker. He complains that such an herb shouldn't be in the first area. Earth heads to a potion store and uses his starting cash to buy a beginner's medicine crafting set. He makes his first healing potion by grinding the herb and soaking it in clean water. The potion is completed when heat is added. Once he has made an item, he is given the chance to batch craft it for efficacy, but the trade-off is a dip in quality, just like goods from a certain country that shall not be named, not going to get political. Earth decides to make some potions and antidotes in preparation for his hunt the next day. The process increases his medicine and production fingertips skill. The following day he heads out to the fields and is happy to see that it is less busy. This means that he will not have to argue with players over monsters. A rabbit horn pops out of the bush while he ponders. Earth loads his bow and takes his time to take his shot because it's difficult to reload. He takes the shot, but the creature dodges. It dashes toward him for a counter, but Earth manages to hit one of its front legs. This injury rather aggravates the rabbit horn as it increases the intensity of its charge. He whacks it with a Mortal Kombat level double kick, which eliminates it. The monster drops its pelt and meat. Zwei can't contain his laughter after witnessing that encounter. He has fought the creature some time back and has never seen one make a noise like that before. The guy mimics the sound. He feels like humor is justice. His partner Millie apologizes on his behalf when she notices that Earth is not amused. Zwei thinks he's cool and officially introduces himself and Millie. They send him a friend request, which he accepts. Zwei already announces that they are going to be a top comedic duo, but Earth is not interested. The two excuse themselves after the exchange. Earth feels like he needs more experience because it takes him too long to eliminate his first target. He tries again, but the rabbit horns notice him from their blind spots, but he still manages to get his second catch by using his wind magic. He remembers that he has the sneak skill, so he uses it to hide his presence, only revealing himself when he's ready to take the shot. The guy finds more success, and even gets a critical hit, which is also labeled as a secret attack called pinpoint hit. He learns that using these two skills in conjunction makes for a powerful offensive. This has made him figure out what his next step should be. He logs out of the game and gets some sleep because he has work the following day. He finds himself back online for his next session and grabs a piece of bread, but realizes that the food that the NPCs sell is garbage. Since they can taste food in the game, he would like to eat better food. Someone should have told us that this guy was a Michelin star food critic. He finds himself in an alleyway after buying a seasoning and cooking set. Earth begins by pan-searing some rabbit horn meat and simply seasons it with salt and pepper. However, when he eats it, it's too tough. The system gives it a score of 2. He cooks another piece, but this time he scores meat and adds herbs to get rid of the gamey taste. It is a lot more tender and delicious, so the system gives it a score of 5. He would love to add a point or two, so he scores it and parboils it a little before searing it in a pan. The smell of his cooking begins to escape from his little corner and into the busy streets. This catches the nostrils of the other players who have never smelled anything like it in this world. Meanwhile, Earth has perfected the dish as it has now achieved a score of 7. His attention is taken when a mob of players gather around and expresses that he can't make food that smells so good without giving them some. Earth has watched a few YouTube entrepreneur channels and quickly announces that it will cost 100 glow per steak. This is 20 times the cost of buying bread from the NPCs. He is shocked that the crowd doesn't object as they scream for him to give them some of the rabbit steak. He gets heckled by his new customers for not preparing their orders quickly enough. He spends that evening in Hell's Kitchen. However, he crafted enough to get his checking to level 20 with the aid of the cooking promotion sub kill, which increases his cooking speed. The customers even have a sign to mark the end of the line. After escaping that hell, he makes himself a new bow since no one is selling it due to the absent demand. He uses his woodworking skills to make the simplest bow first from one piece of wood. It is more powerful than the one given to him, but it is weak against any half-decent monster. After learning the process, he decided to make a compound bow from a flexible wood, which is sandwiched between 2 pieces of hardwood. This gives it strength and flexibility, which increases the power it generates. This is reflected by the 3 times increase in attack power compared to his first attempt. With an advanced weapon, he decides to get some armor which levels up his drip. He Ninetales recaps his stats before he rushes to his vending machine to stock his uncommon grape-flavored healing potions. He hopes that the people will like them. He also has his famous steak and other foods on offer. Earth needs money after buying his expensive armor. With his new equipment, he heads out to try it and spots some higher-level monsters. He uses Sneak to get close to the wolf and puts it down with a shot and kicks the other K9. He then activates his Wind Needle to defeat the spider and uses a Wind Cutter to take out a monster worm. They all drop and use full loot. He checks his stats, and his archery skill along with a few others have gone up. He decides to call it a day because he is low on arrows. Earth gets back down and sees the positive feedback posted on his vending machine. However, little did everyone know that the world would be brutally attacked by a new system, and the players panic in the main area looking for anyone who will sell them potions. They are looking for anyone who has the medicine skill. They are willing to buy the potions for a high price if someone has them. Earth is confused as to what is going on since NPCs sell potions. He calls Vi to ask for the rundown. He reveals that the NPCs have started saying they are out of potions. The redhead points out that it is bad for Earth because people are going to be begging for the potion juice that he was selling. The frantic players spot Earth and crowd him wanting potions. Zwei heads to his ear when he hears the commotion. Earth informs the crowd that he will be calling them for 40 glow, and they all agree they are finite, so he limits the maximum number to give per person. They are all happy to hear this and rush him. Shortly after, Zwei and Millie arrive. The redhead offers to deal with crowd control, while Millie offers to take the money so that he can focus on making potions. There is a lot of pressure on him since barely anyone took the medicine skill because they thought it was trash. He doesn't want the players to be upset because nobody has potions, so he uses batch crafting to make a lot. Soon enough, he runs out of medicinal herbs, so he must turn away new customers. Earth promises them there will be more the following day. Ward and his party barge in and demand that he gives them all the potions he has left. The archer politely tells him that the remaining batch is for the people who stand in line. The server bully walks toward Earth, but Zwei in the way demanding him to leave them alone. Ward knocks him down with a single hit. He promises to show them what he is capable of if they don't do as he says. Earth expresses the same sentiment. He points out the reality of the situation and gestures to the line of people who are waiting to lynch Ward if he touches their potions. He offers to buy it instead, but Earth explains that if the NPCs also stop selling weapons and armor, these services are going to be provided by players, so if he annoys everyone, they will not sell to him. Ward gets offended that he's being lectured, so he challenges Earth to a duel, and he accepts despite protest. They are transported to the arena, and he can see that Ward is overconfident. He plans to use it to his advantage to take out his weak points. Earth dodges his attack and counters with a kick that knocks his helmet off, leaving him wide open for 2 arrows to the head, bringing an end to the fight. Everyone is shocked by his skill. He gives a sharp look towards men who quickly leave with their unconscious leader. Zwei and Millie are impressed. Earth apologizes to his customers for the trouble and promises to have more ready the next day. He logs out to get some rest, but he gets a party invite from Zwei. The story continues, and several days have passed since the potion disappearance incident, and the game world has changed as a result. Players no longer consider the medicine skill to be useless after realizing that NPCs can run out of inventory. Earth meets up with Zwei and is surprised that he's a guild master. Earth thanks him for the party invite as the leader presents the members of the blue color party. Millie says hi since they have already met. Nora steps up first and introduces herself, announcing that she fights with short swords. Zwei opens a private voice chat and warns Earth not to use words like flat, smooth, or cutting board around her. Looking at her structure, the guy can see why this girl is flatter than a pancake. This girl is flatter than the planet according to the imagination of flat earthers. Rigi says hello next, revealing himself to be a tanker who uses a one-handed axe and shield. Growing enemies is his thing. Lastly, Kazamini introduces himself as a swordsman. Earth tries to go next, but Nora interrupts him. They know he's an archer because everyone is talking about him after his skillful dispatch of Ward. Zwei even shows the highlight Earth is a little shy because he doesn't want to stand out. He tries to downplay his achievement by pointing out that Ward was a low-skill player. Since there is no need for him to introduce himself, he expresses his concern that the party is not well balanced with 4 melee fighters, a mage, and an archer. Nora puts his worries to bed when she reveals that she can use healing magic and Millie can use more than one element. Earth is a lot more confident after hearing that she provides this support too. Talk moves on to the party's objective for the day. Rigi informs him that they are hunting a wild bear. This makes Earth uneasy because that is a tough opponent. Zwei notices this and assures him that they are strong enough to take it down. Earth is shocked to learn that their confidence is coming from the fact that he will be joining them. He bluntly tells them that he has never fought a wild bear before. According to the source, they are fast and smart, which makes them hard to beat. The guild master ignores his worries and informs the party that Earth will cook something delicious for all of them after the hunt. This gets them all excited. They enter the forest where Earth uses his long-distance vision to locate the bears, but most of them are in groups. Upon closer inspection, he spots one by itself. He and Zwei agree to lure it away from the rest and to a place where they have the advantage. The rest of the party watch on and finally appreciate the long-distance vision skill and are happy that he's with them. The guild leader looks to take the credit for scouting him. Zwei asks Millie to give him some buffs. All the while, Earth alerts the party that he's splitting off to use his sneak skill to lure it away. He vanishes and only appears when he gets close enough to land a shot which gets the attention of the creature. It gets angry and tries to give him the Bartholomew Kuma swipe into a time skip, but Rigi springs into action to taunt it. He slams his shield on the ground, which catches the attention of the bear. Monsters have a hidden parameter called a ground, which shows who they are angry at. With Rigi's high defense, he'll direct the enemy's anger toward himself to alleviate the pressure on the rest of the party. Earth retreats to a safe distance where he shoots without reservations. Rigi's HP begins to decrease as he blocks the bear's heavy attacks. Millie replenishes his lost HP with a heal spell. Nora uses this opportunity to attack from behind, but her sword is too short to penetrate its tough skin. Zwei and Kazamini try with their sword and get the same result. Millie shoots a fire spell, hopeful that it will do damage, but it doesn't work. The disappointment is not as bad as expecting a new jutsu from Naruto, only to get different variations of the Rasengan. Rigi gives a confident smile as we do and activates his taunt, drawing the bear's attention. Nora tries to support with her heal spell, but her mana is running low. Zwei watches the whole situation and realizes that they were in over their heads with this one. Earth can also see that things are turning bad. He uses his years of experience and makes a decisive call to aim in between the eyes of the bear with confidence that it's its weak spot. He knows that this is his only chance and believes that he doesn't belong in this party if he can't pull this off. Earth lets the arrow loose and it lands true, causing the monster to step back in pain, but it doesn't take it down. He concludes that he didn't do enough damage and uses his wind magic to help him build momentum to get closer to the monster, where he kicks his arrow deeper into the head of the bear. This does critical damage, and Millie finishes off with a fire spell. They all let out a sigh of relief that they got out unscathed. Spite takes the blame for the bad call, but Earth decides to cheer everyone up by inviting them for food. They get excited when they hear it's a new dish. They enjoy a wolf kebab as the sun comes down. The feedback is positive. Earth plays a joke on the guild master by giving him NPC bread, but later gives him some of the meat when he complains. Nora wonders if his recipes for cooking are expensive because she's interested in buying some. Earth lets her know that she can't buy any. There is an unspoken rule among crafters not to trade recipes. The first reason is that it takes a lot of money and time to make these recipes, and the second reason is that the quality of the product will differ between the two, as it can't be copied. So even if she bought the kebab recipe, the taste would be inferior. Zwei suggests they have Earth cook for them. They all second that idea and decide to head back to town as they have had enough action for the day. The rest of the party members send friend requests to Earth. He classes his first adventure with the party as success. On a different day, he heads out to do some solo hunting and decides to go into the 5th area, thinking that he's ready. As soon as he steps into the new part of the forest, he's attacked by a giant wasp. He misses his shot and accidentally hits a rock ant, which has a link ability that allows it to call the rest of the homies. Earth decides to fight them and jumps in to kick it, but the creature reflects his damage and shocks him, causing his body to turn numb. Unable to move, the ants defeat him. Earth takes a penalty for being defeated and is warped back to town. He concedes that he was being arrogant and deserved that L, but promises to do better next time. He gets a notification informing players about a major upcoming update called the Fairy Ball. There will be new skills, arts, and more items to craft. These fairies that are going to be included will support the players. Earth overhears a player stating that it's going to be a brawl and not a ball. He agrees with this conclusion. He is sure that the other player is going to be leveling up too in preparation, so he can't get more penalties from being vanquished. He worked off the heady penalty and learned blacksmithing. He decides to make an arrowhead that can pierce the rock and skin. He uses basic iron to make the piercing arrow and pure iron to forge a heavy blunt arrowhead. He's happy with these two types for now. Earth makes a prototype leg blade to help with his kicks. His fellow blacksmith is impressed with his creation, as are some other random players. He intends to use and improve them and fights battles with them. He next heads to Mian the armor merchant and gets some bowstrings for his new weapon. Earth's archery level has reached 30, so he decides to specialize and chooses the hunting bow since it fits his playing style more. The short bow has a limited range, which would force him into close quarters combat, and he's not a melee fighter. The long bow has range and power, but it takes too long to fire, which is not good since he also likes to play solo. The hunting bow has just enough range, power, and maneuverability. He uses 3 experience points to specialize in the use of the hunting bow. This is a more powerful skill, so he'll get more attack bonus. Earth makes a new bow to complete his commitment. He roughly designs it and goes to forge the metal holder for it. Black comments that he has never seen a bow like this before. Earth alerts him that it's fun to make things that couldn't exist in the real world. After a short while, he completes his X-type compound hunting weapon, which has significantly more damage. As Earth tests it out, he realizes that it takes more strength to pull it than his old one. He goes over to his X-bow and rubs it like a pet, thanking it for everything as it helped him a lot, but he is excited to try his new one the following day. He goes out when the day breaks and he's confronted by an ant. He uses his vision skill to confirm that it doesn't have the link ability. Earth shoots a wind magic-infused blunt arrow which stuns the creature. This creates an opening for him to finish it off with a piercing arrow. He celebrates his victory and takes out the remaining ants. Earth brings the ants' exoskeleton back to town since they can be used to craft flight armor. He just hopes the armor merchant buys all his stock. The launch of the new update finally comes, and the system informs the players that they can make a contract with a fairy during this first half. Earth gets excited when a contract crystal appears before him. He hopes that he gets a wind fairy as it will complement his playstyle. He makes sure the coast is clear before he tries to make a contract. Earth releases some of his magic into the crystal, causing it to vibrate and glow, and his happy face turns to shock as the top of his crystal shatters with nothing coming out. He gets a call from Zwei, so he heads over to his location where the party is surprised to learn that he failed to make a contract with a fairy. They all show off their cool familiars, causing Earth to fall to the floor in despair. Millie tries to cheer him up, saying that he still has a second chance, as the system mentions that this was the first opportunity. The broken item didn't disappear, which could also mean he has another chance. This makes him feel better. His party members' fairies all gravitate to Earth. As they cozy up to him, their masters get a little jealous as they surround him. He just hopes that he gets another shot to get his fairy. The story continues as Earth flies under a tree, deciding to take in nature and relax. He is soon joined by a fairy that zips around, so he sits up. The guy has noticed that the creatures have been so friendly toward him for reasons unbeknownst to him. The little one lands on his finger, wanting to make a contract, but he apologizes, informing it that he's unable to because his crystal is broken. He summons it to sea, but the fairy has a good time dashing in and out of it. Earth is happy as long as it's having fun. He uses this opportunity to check his stats, and they have all increased. This means he can learn more specialized skills. Earth reviews all the options available to him and gets excited because mastering new skills allows him to fight in new ways. He later decides to tackle his first dungeon. Walking through the dark cave brings back memories of him exploring them in his younger days. His skill alerts him to a hidden danger, so he dodges it and carries on with a smile on his face, as he loves the feeling of not knowing how far the darkness would go. He never thought he would experience this again. He pauses for a moment when he arrives at a very dark section. After a moment of silence, a set of red eyes glow from the darkness just before a spider jumps out. Earth draws his bow and is filled with thrill, thinking about how loaded the world is with adventure. He lets an arrow fly, which hits the spider square in the head, which makes it jolt back. Earth follows it up with some high-level wind spells. This causes the monster to fall on its back, but to his surprise, it quickly recovers and dashes in for the counter. Earth thinks fast and uses his high jump skill to leap over the attack, but he forgets about the cave ceiling and whacks his head. He ignores the pain and uses a whip he recently purchased as a lasso to pull the spider towards him. He finishes it with a powerful kick, which is made more potent by the blades on his feet. He holds his head in pain from the high jump as soon as the spider disintegrates, reminding himself to account for that next time. Suddenly, some darkness fairies appear and lead Earth through the cave. He arrives at a cliff face with a narrow ledge that he carefully tries to navigate. The footing begins to become less forgiving, so he activates the stable center of gravity skill, which allows him to complete the trek as he safely jumps onto a platform. The fairies gather around a rock, hinting that he should investigate. Earth reads the cue and moves the rock to find a secret door. He opens it and sees a box, which he excitedly takes and comments that it is moments like this that make adventuring great. He inspects it for traps before opening it, and when he does, an old ring greets him. Earth speculates it needs to be placed on something and puts it in his item box. He intends to keep it as a memento of his first dungeon conquest and thanks the fairies for assisting in finding cool loot. Earth gets a message from the game makers informing players that they are ready to announce the second half of the Fairy Ball. It is dubbed the Fairy Battle Tournament. He rushes back to town. He joins the other players at the main square, where they are informed that their fairies are about to evolve. By competing or winning a certain number of PvP fights, their fairies will evolve and take on new forms. However, repeatedly fighting the same opponent will not count towards the evolution, so players must seek out new challenges. The top 16 players in this special versus mode will be invited to a tournament. Winners should expect some amazing prizes. Players can also gain special titles that separate one from the rest. There are also hidden play styles that can earn hidden titles. Those who fail to make contract with fairies at first are given another chance. They can repair their contract's crystals via PvP. These repaired crystals have a guaranteed success rate and a higher likelihood of obtaining rare fairies. The game makers have also unlocked fairies' self-identity, which enables the fairies to act differently than before. They are directed to the site for more details. Earth can see that everyone is excited about this new announcement. However, he wonders how this will work since lots of players are bad at PvP. He just hopes that people don't start targeting craftspeople who aren't good at combat. He heads over to the blacksmithing area, where Black assures him that there is nothing for craftspeople to worry about with this PP. All the variants have agreed that they will gang up on anyone who tries to force them into a fight. This will be a huge deterrent since no one wants the resentment from a whole guild to fall on them. Earth is glad to hear this. Black wants to know if he has gone to the new town yet. It is called Nexia Key. Sounds like a new age cult to me. They have opened a warp portal, so getting there is not a problem. It has already become a gathering place for the hardcore PvP crowd. The people who want to take their time are meeting up to fight around first. Earth is happy to see that the people are already starting to split into groups. This self-governance decision is what makes online games so special. Black is not interested in competing and only wants to swing his hammer around. He intends to leave the fighting to other players. Earth wonders what he's going to do. In the meantime, the game makers add the special title. He notices people commenting that he has a special title, so he checks and is surprised to see that he is a fairy player. The dread washes the color out of him as he goes from anime to manga. He slowly looks up to see the red sign with his new title broadcasted. The title cannot be unequipped, and the only way to remove it is to fight one special PvP battle during the event. He falls to the floor in despair as a crowd gathers so that they can see his title. Earth finds this humiliating as some of the fairies come to support him. The title stands out too much for his liking. He remembers that PvP is his only way for him to lift the curse and begins to plead with anyone to fight with him. Rona steps and accepting the fight. Tears of joy run across his face as he thinks about the chances of him clearing this name. Rona has already heard about Earth, so she calls him by name casually. She reveals that she's a member of the blue-colored guild. Earth remembers it being the name of Zwei's guild as he recalls the hunt he went with them. Before the battle starts, Rona informs him that she uses martial arts, she has seen his kicks, and is excited to face them. Earth once again thanks her for fighting him. She is shocked to see her familiar fly to him. The bird is shy, so it cancels the fight request as it doesn't want to fight him. The creature flies around and lands on his shoulder. Everyone is excited to see this special name in action. Earth pleads for anyone to PvP him, but one of the fairies wants to fight. He falls to the floor feeling glum. Rona has never seen such an ability before. Some days later, Earth is busy frying food when Roma calls him. She wants some advice. He guesses that she's having problems feeding her familiar and would like him to make food that he'll eat. She's amazed as to how he knew. Earth wastes no time telling her that half the servers are asking for the same thing. He made some carriage for a player who complained about his familiar not eating the bread. The carriage went down a treat, so he must have spread the word. The line is so long that he must limit orders to packs of 3. He's overwhelmed by the orders, but he's fighting through thanks to his cooking skills. What he really needs is Makoto to come help him, Chef Gordon Ramsay style. The rush was more bearable when Roma came to help. The place is less busy now because of her assistance. Other cooks have started to make fairy food, which has helped him a lot. Rona suggests they go check out the new town after they close. They warp there and head straight to the PvP area. Rona notices that there is something strange about the wolf currently battling, and he agrees. The fight begins, and the player with the bird fairy works well with his familiar. However, the other player calls for his familiar's help during a key exchange, but the wolf ignores its master's command, which leads to his defeat. Rona wants to know what just happened because she didn't think that a fairy could ignore its master commands. Earth reveals that the guy is a slave fairy user. This is the term used to describe those who abuse their fairies. They hit their familiar to make them do what they want or don't treat them kindly. Some of the fairies can stop listening as a result. The loser gets frustrated and prepares to hit his fairy. Earth can see it's going to result in something bad happening. He explains that he once saw a video of a slave fairy user pushing its familiar to the edge. As a penalty, he had to fight his contracted fairy, which got a power-up, so the player didn't stand a chance. His contract crystal was taken for losing the battle, and all his fairy-related data was reset. The loser pauses because he also saw the video and knew what was coming after the hit. Rona didn't know such a system existed. Earth reveals that it's a similar system that has been employed in older online games. He guesses that the gamer makers wanted to pay tribute to those types of mechanics. Earth decides to log out to get some rest. The following day, Earth is back in the game and cleans up after a long day of selling. He is visited by the loser, and he wants to talk to him about his title. The guy wants to make things right with his fairy. He saw a video of somebody's fairy attacking them and does not want to meet the same fate. As he plays with the familiar, he wants to know why its owner was mean to it in the first place. The loser explains that he didn't know how to care for his familiar, so he checked online and saw people treating them like circus animals. He did the same, but after it got a personality, it stopped listening to him, causing the loser to hit it a few times to make it obey. He knew deep down he was not supposed to be doing that. He has come to learn a better way and even offers to pay. Earth rejects it, warning him not to make that a habit when trying to solve his problems. He advises that the loser needs to treat his fairy like a friend. They should fight, take breaks together, and when he's logging out, he should say goodbye. He could even share a meal with it. This resonates with the loser, so he pleads with Earth to make him a portion of carriage since he's the famous fairy player chef. But Earth gets annoyed because he didn't know he was given a nickname. The guy takes one and feeds it to his fairy. It is hesitant at first, but it eats it. This kind gesture dispels the negative energy around the creature. The guy thanks him with tears in his eyes, and the rekindled duo walk into the sunset ready to live their new lives. Earth's admiration of his handiwork is disrupted by an old man who comments on how wonderful what he just witnessed is. He introduces himself as Silver. He informs Earth that they need to talk and asks if they could go someplace where there aren't many people around. Earth takes him to a secluded safe house where he offers Silver a seat so that they can freely talk. He notices that the old knight has some of the best equipment in the game. He rightly concludes that he's one of the top players playing the game's toughest content. Silver wastes no time and asks if Earth has met a player named Glad. After a moment of thought, he says no. The knight reveals that there are rumors that he's targeting players who have the fairy player title, so he assumed that he might have come after him. Hearing this catches Earth's attention, so he wishes to know who this player is. Silver confesses that he was a former member of his party. Apart from his behavioral issues, he was a very skilled tanker, but began to look down on the other members as his arrogance increased. However, when the event began, he was not able to make a contract with the fairy. The guy became resentful and took it out on the other players. He couldn't take a slice of humble pie, so Silver took the executive decision as leader to banish him. Silver summons his rear perfect light Valkyrie fairy as he explains that Glad got more jealous as the leader tried to reason with him. However, after the last update, he was able to get a new crystal and made a contract with a darkness fox fairy. He is currently roaming around challenging people to special PvP duels. Earth guesses that he's doing this to prove a point as he still feels humiliated. Silver suspects that he's planning to use the tournament to show off his strength and pleads for Earth to stay away from him. As the party leader, Silver intends to take responsibility and scold him at the tournament. Earth understands the old man's worries, but thinks it's dangerous to just believe one side of a story. The following day, he goes hunting using the taboo of challenging players to PvPs while they're fighting monsters as a protection against Glad. Earth first antagonizes the wild bear with a headshot and uses his archery arts to mirror himself to increase his shots as it jets towards him. He then brings it down with his whip and finishes it off with a bladed kick. This victory is a testament to how strong he has become, as it took him plus the whole party to defeat one in the past. He's given the chance to level up to the sliding charge kick, which he can use to attack or rapidly escape. Later, he heads to the mine to dig some ore for some equipment upgrades. He warns everyone when he comes across an explosive ore. They all take cover while he safely harvests it. The other players are grateful for the warning as they reveal that some bomb masters use them to create explosives. That evening, he heads over to Black's place to borrow his smithy to get some work done. He is inspired by the twisted blade and makes a similar arrowhead that increases his piercing capabilities. It also adds the laceration buff, which reduces the enemy's HP over time. He moves on and uses light steel to create the triangle blade whip. The thing looks like something straight from a medieval torture room. Opponents that are bound by it continually receive damage. He thanks Black for the help before heading to the potion workshop, where he's given a space in the basement to work on his explosive ore. The underground area is good in case he has an accidental explosion. The damage will be contained. He puts his medical skills to the test and makes 3 oils with different rations. Earth heads out to a secluded area to test them out. He throws 3 oil, and it doesn't ignite, so he moves on to B, which causes a huge explosion that blasts away 80% of his HP. It is far too powerful, but he keeps it as a last resort to bring down a monster if he is about to see defeat. The system names it Helmine Oil. After taking a healing potion, he tries the last one, which causes the perfect explosion. It is named Enhanced Oil. He makes more and uses it to take down 3 wild bears. This boost in EXP raises him to level 50 for both his hunting bow and wind magic. He is given the chance to combine them to specialize in an elemental weapon art, but he will lose the ability to increase his hunting bow and wind magic skills. He confirms his decision and practices the first skill, the Gatling Arrow. This allows him to shoot in busts. However, he can only shoot 2 at his current level. The other skill is Fly, which allows him to use wind magic to traverse great distances. He heads back to the town, where he places an order to the armor merchant to make him a cape to protect his back. Their conversation is interrupted by an announcement for all players that the scoring for the Fairy PvP event is over. The top 16 players are listed for the final tournament, and Earth is not surprised to see that Silver and Glad are topping the table. The following day, the tournament kicks off with a large crowd gathered. Earth uses his vision skill to locate the other players who have the fairy player title and resonates with their struggle. Meanwhile, the top players put on a great fight and display of skill, but Silver and Glad are the last two standing as they meet in the final. Earth is surprised to see that Glad can use wind magic, which he uses along with his other skills, to best Silver, making him the winner. His fairy evolves into a fox humanoid fairy queen. She refuses to stay subordinate to Glad and reveals that the purpose of the event is to select the next ruler of the fairies. They were told that it should be someone strong and well-versed in the arts of war. However, fairies are not warlike creatures, so they learned how to fight from humans, the masters of war. The winner of each fight would inherit the experiences of the loser until the last one standing becomes their ruler, which is now her. Glad tries to make it seem like he was used, but the fairy queen points out that he only saw her as a tool to get his revenge, and now that he has it, their contract has expired. She offers him some money on top of the tournament winning plus a replacement fairy on the same level as the queen before she evolved. This is compensation for his work, but the guy does not take it and challenges the queen instead, which means the deal is off if he loses. The fight starts, and he gets beaten so badly with a barrage of spells that she allows Silver to take over now that he has been force-fed the humble pie. The monarch then calls the 3 fairy player title holders and commends them for their abstinence in the fight. She evolves the 2 who had fairies as their reward and gives Earth the chance to fight her as his reward, which confuses the guy. Things continue as Earth pleads for clarification regarding this sudden battle. The queen explains that he didn't experience the event with a fairy by his side, so she would like him to go through the process of fighting her. Whether he wins or not is not important. The queen intends to give him some of her power as his reward regardless. However, if he wins, she will give him a bonus in the form of more power. His fairy player name disappears as soon as he accepts the terms of the battle. Meanwhile, in the real world, the executives of the VR gaming company gather stating that the event has reached its climax. They eagerly watch on to see how this battle plays out. Back in the game, the other players excitedly wait as Earth prepares his equipment. He also uses this time to formulate a plan on how to win. The guy acknowledges the variety and power of the Fairy Queen's magic. He's especially fearful of the high explosion spell she used to end Glad. The only advantage he has is the fact that he has seen her fight once before. He also doubts she fought an archer while participating in the tournament. Earth still can't believe that his chosen combination of underpowered skills has come in so handy. The archer is aware that she will adapt to his fighting style if the battle drags out, which will nullify his advantage. Earth concludes that he can't win by fighting fair, so his only other option is to fight dirty. He packs his loadout and confirms his readiness to the queen. The system summons the fighting arena and signals the beginning of the fight. Earth uses his power slide to flank the queen and fires a shot using 70% of his strength to test her. The fairy uses the wind cutter spell, but the arrow cancels it. Earth is happy to see this because this means that at full strength it might be able to overpower her. The monarch wastes no time and follows up with a fire attack that the archer dodges. He fires a stronger arrow which dispels the last fireball, hitting the queen in the shoulder. That pain even causes her to drop her staff. Zwei, Millie, and the rest of the crowd cheered in shock that he got a direct hit. The fairy is surprised that he countered her magic. She can see that she's at a disadvantage in a ranged battle, so she tries to make it a little more intermittent by dashing towards him. Unfortunately, Earth doesn't want her anywhere near him and wants to stick to the 6 feet rule back in 2020, so he pulls out a potion that she thinks he's going to drink. She prepares a lightning attack to stun him, but Earth also anticipates that as she used that move in her fight with Glad. He drops the potion, which produces a cloud of purple smoke that she dashes into. She realizes that it's poison, but it's too late. The guy created it from the suffocation herb. He knows that she can't cast her spells in that poison, so he begins his offense. He tosses some of his explosion potions, which brings the queen to her knees while also clearing the poison. The fairy regrets not banning the use of items, but Earth is still on high alert as he has a loaded arrow pointed at her. He gives his opinion on how humans are weak creatures and feels that this is why they must come up with unorthodox ways to defeat the strong. She quickly erects an earth wall around herself while she regroups. Earth responds by using his sneak skill to hide himself, which impresses Zwei. All the while, the queen is perplexed that he's not attacking and can't even sense his presence anymore. She speculates that he's waiting for her magic to deplete, so she decides to surprise him by coming on the offensive. She drops her guard and quickly attacks, but Earth is nowhere to be found till he appears behind, informing her that she's wide open. Before she can react, he grabs her with his metal whip and throws her off balance by spinning her. She remains apprehended as he hits her with a sliding tackle that Sergio Ramos will be proud of. The queen falls to the ground like a rejected Vegeta, and Earth doesn't slow down as he performs a perfect Gatling arrow which earns him a 6-hit combo plus a stun. He follows this with his mirror arrow, which adds 3 more arrows and unleashes 2 more with his twin-ranged arrow attack. He finishes his 13-hit combo with a wind-imbued arrow and a kick. The queen doesn't even have time to register what just happened as her body crumbles in defeat. The system crowns Earth the victor as the arena disappears. The screams from the thousands of players reminds him that everyone just witnessed his spectacular fighting style. He steps back thinking that the queen is mad when he sees an aura emanating from her. He's shocked that she took the L so gracefully as she concedes, and even goes as far as to say that she was overconfident. The queen voices that she will treat this as a learning experience and swiftly moves on to giving Earth his reward. She requests he show her his broken fairy contract crystal and the fairy king's ring. He guesses that it is the ring he found while exploring his first dungeon. The queen takes them and adds a 6th light into this broken crystal and merges the ring. The crystal fuses with the ring, creating a magnificent piece of jewelry. She pulls Earth towards herself and puts the ring on him after some resistance. The players laugh at the whole ordeal. He tries to remove it, but he's not able to. The system informs him that it's the 8/7 queen ring. The piece of jewelry contains the power of 6 elemental fairies and is the only one of its kind in the whole world. However, it cannot be unequipped now that it is being put on. He begins to tear up when he realizes this. The queen quickly heads back to her kingdom before she has asked any further questions. Everyone sees this as the official end of the event. They clap due to their happiness with the event and the excellent final, so I can't believe that they got to witness a marriage. Earth's epic battle was uploaded to the game's official site. This inspired many people to use the wind magic and archery combination after witnessing how strong it is. This also made Earth into an in-game celebrity, so he decided to head to a remote place so that he could play in peace. However, the queen suddenly pops out from the ring as he works on some potions. She reveals that the ring is also a teleportation point. He scolds her for skipping her duties and orders her to go back and rule the kingdom, but she complains about how boring it is. The monarch reveals that being a ruler is the most difficult job in the kingdom. She flips the pyramid upside down and explains that she works like a slave while the people below her in status have fewer responsibilities. Earth heads into town but feels uncomfortable when he's recognized by everyone. A voice behind aggressively calls to him, trying to get his attention, but he thinks that they are talking to someone else. He chooses to go hunting to get out of the limelight. Earth looks at his ring, wishing to try something out. The guy meets up with the queen again and asks her about the prism, not the spell, as it is something he can learn since he has the ring equipped. She encourages him to find out by using it, so he apprehends a wild bear and chants a book-sized incantation which turns it to stone. He tried a few more times and figured out what it did. He heads back to his secluded back camp where he prepares meals for his food business. He reveals that the spell afflicts all enemies in the area with multiple random status effects. The monarch adds to this and tells him that there are a large variety of status effects that can inflict on the target. She lists paralysis and petrify as some that have low odds of triggering. The queen also warns him that the cooldown period is long. She reaches out to grab a piece of food, but he hits her with the fan, warning her not to eat his customer's meal. The monarch complains that all the cuisine in the fairy kingdom is so sweet. She needs something savory to balance it out. Their conversation is interrupted by Neither, who confronts Earth for ignoring him. The celebrity recalls the incident and assures him that he didn't know he was the one being addressed. Neither introduces himself as a member of the Bow of Apollo Guild and begins to give a speech about how their goal is to offer salvation to all oppressed archers everywhere. He tries to recruit Earth condescendingly, so the superstar pulls a Sigma move and just ignores him and finishes eating his meal with the queen. Before leaving, he informs Nada that he's not interested, which confuses the guest. The queen sticks with Earth till his shift is nearing its end, and the guy sends her back to her kingdom with some food which makes her happy. He's just excited that he will get to have some peace now so that he can work on his equipment the following day. The next morning, he gives his greetings when he enters Jax's blacksmith shop. He's a little on guard when he notices a crowd around him. Jax apologizes when he reveals that since he's so famous now, they all want to watch his work process. Earth agrees, but he orders everyone to back off a bit, which they immediately do. He begins by deconstructing his X-type compound hunting bow to upgrade it. Since he's used it a lot, the guy decides to make a new one. Earth uses higher quality wood and makes his reinforcement with light metal instead of iron. This results in a more powerful bow. He next works on the upgraded version of his bladed shoes. Light metal is used to increase the shoe's armor value, steel is the chosen material for the spikes, and the screw twist method is utilized to improve attacking power. Earth moves the blade to the front of the shoe this time and makes it modular for easier maintenance. These amendments will allow him to be more versatile with his kicks. After a while, the fawn leg blade is complete. He practices a few kicks in them, and the observers clap in admiration of his craftsmanship. Earth preferred it when everyone saw him as a weirdo. He stops feeling sorry for himself as he gets excited to see the last part of his loadout upgrade. He heads to the armor shop where the merchant gives him the cape he ordered. Earth is shocked by the quality as it scores a 9. The surprises keep coming when he hears how affordable such a high quality of work is since they agreed on a price. She's not willing to increase it just because the final product is of a higher quality. Earth's attention is drawn when he receives a message from Ami, the guild master of the Bow of Apollo. He accepts the invitation and meets them later that night. The members line up to welcome him and he acknowledges their size. After exchanging pleasantries, Ami apologizes for Nether's behavior towards him. She highlights his fame after his display against the queen. Since they are an archer-only guild, neither believes that if they get Earth to join, their numbers will balloon. The superstar lets them know that he wasn't offended by this transgression. Ami reveals that they did further investigations and found that neither was using Earth's name to recruit new members. The guild submit themselves an apology on his behalf. Earth is taken off guard by the gesture and pleads for them to raise their heads since he has accepted their apology. Ami is happy to hear this and informs him that neither has been punished to ensure this never happens again. The guy was demoted from lieutenant to an ordinary member, and he has lost his guild invite privileges. They didn't want to banish him, but make him take responsibility. Earth is content with how they dealt with it, and after some hype from Ami, he says his goodbyes to them. He is now starting to see just how much impact his battle with the Fairy Queen had on the game. The guy just wants to relax and have a good time. Meanwhile, in the real world, the executives are impressed with his performance and the influence he's having on other players. They mark Earth as a player they must keep an eye on. We pick up as the second round of player registration comes online. Daichi guesses that it means that the new servers have been installed. The shortage of VR headsets has also been resolved, which means registrations will not be open for long as this new server gets filled up quickly. He is his avatar Earth and is greeted by Zwei and Millie, who inform him that new status effects have been added in the previous day's patch. He checks and notes the break arms effect when one is hit by it. They can't hold their weapon for a while. Millie also points out they must watch out for paralysis and petrification too. It is triggered if one takes more than 25% of their total HP and damage to their arms. Earth is just happy that other players can't steal the dropped weapons. He recalls it happening to him in a previous game. The announcement of a new update catches their attention. The broadcaster informs them that a new dungeon is coming. Its name is a challenge from the departed. It is entirely randomly generated, so each time players enter they will be greeted with a completely new experience. There will be a plethora of traps waiting for unlucky players, therefore those who can't think quickly will join the dead in the labyrinth. They have a 1-hour time limit to reach the 10th floor as their first goal. It is up to the players if they want to accept the challenge from the departed. Earth gets excited hearing this. Before the announcement ends, they play a trailer for the second round of player registration. Zwei and the party fighting the bear is featured as well as Earth's epic battle against these not comfortable having such a big spotlight shine on him, fearing that new players will think bows are a lot stronger than they are. He knows they will regret choosing it later. With the announcement done, Earth prepares himself for the new dungeon by equipping a shield. He blocks the charge of a wolf as he internally explains his doubt that he could not have gone any further in the game with dodging as his only defense. This would have been worse in the cramped areas in the labyrinth. He tries his new fighting style on a rock ant by deflecting its attacks and countering with a shot. He specialized his shield skill in the small variant, which makes it easier to use his bow. This has made it much more simple to gather materials. He heads to the Black's Forge to make some new equipment. The owner of the facility wonders what he's making this time around. Earth reveals that he's making a new compound bow with plans he brought from the real world. The blacksmith notices that the otherworld bow has a high attack despite the quality score being low. He feels like other archers would love it. Earth has a different sentiment since it requires special arrows to use which cost a lot. He made it so that he could understand how the mechanic works, so he has no intention of using it. Black's guesses that he intends to use these mechanics to make something better. Earth confirms this but admits that it doesn't exist in the real world, so he must draw up the plans himself. After a couple of days working on it, he finally finishes the secret light metal shield. It gives good defense but also has a hidden function. He used materials from the rock ant's exoskeleton on the sides of the shield to strengthen it. Although it is primarily to protect the compound bow parts, he placed them inside the back. When activated, the shield turns to a secret bow which has high attack power and accuracy. He speculates that the accuracy bonus is because of the little scope sight he added. Why is this guy moving like he is in Call of Duty? When he lets go of the grip, it goes back to functioning as a normal shield. This is why he raised his shield skill on his right hand and did all that work. The bow works strangely, but it was intended only for his use, so he's okay with that. He practices a shot and it's powerful. Even if he gets hit with the break arms effect, he can still attack at long range. I bet this guy would give Sun Raku a good run in Shangri-La Frontier. The day of the dungeon update drops and Earth arrives at the area to meet plenty of players ready to try their luck. All the merchant players parade around advertising their potions and products to get the others prepared for the raid. Earth is approached by a party of Power Rangers-inspired players who look like they got their costume from AliExpress. They want him to join them on the first incursion as the Black Ranger is out of action due to a stomach bug. He decides to join because he doesn't think he will get too far on his own. As soon as they enter, the Red Ranger orders everyone to charge, but Earth stops. He uses his threat detection skill to survey the area, and it's filled with many traps, with 4 of them being instant extermination. It is expected for hero types like them to fall for traps, but he doesn't intend to have them wiped out. Earth orders everyone to take his lead as he carefully navigates through the dangers. The blue guy comments on how Red made the right call to recruit Earth. The newcomer understands their apprehension since spontaneous additions can sometimes lead to ruined team dynamics. Red remarks that there was no way the husband of the Fairy Queen would be weak. Hearing this makes him want to cry since he doesn't want that title. They safely get through the trap-infested room, and the Rangers take the lead on the next section and swiftly dispatch some skeletons. Earth is impressed with their combat ability, which frees him up to focus on finding traps. They eventually arrive the stairs to the second floor, and it has taken them 18 minutes so far to get there. They are taking too long for a 1-hour dungeon. Earth apologizes for his delay in disarming the traps, but the others assure him that it is better to be safe than sorry. The group intend to make it to the 3rd floor even faster. Earth likes the fact that it's part of the beauty of randomly generated dungeons. The party proceeds ahead and come across a unit of whites and skeleton soldiers. Pink decides to handle this using a magic attack that destroys the whites. Green notes that they are different from the ones they saw on the 1st floor. More whites appear, so they switch to melee and launch their assault. Unfortunately, their attacks are not working until a wind-imbued arrow from Earth defeats it. He informs them that whites don't take physical damage, so this battle should be left to those who can use magic, and with that the threat is dealt with. They make swift progress through the 2nd and 3rd floors and find the way down to the 4th. The group lost a lot of time dealing with the tricky monsters. It has already been 40 minutes, so Earth lets everyone know that it would be impossible for them to make it to the 10th in the remaining time, so they should aim for the 5th floor instead. Red has no objection to that, so with that settled the group moves on to the 4th floor. As soon as they step down, Earth gets a sensation as if the Grim Reaper is caressing his face. He alerts the others that there is something amiss with this floor, and soon after they hear cries for help behind a door. Red's hero ego kicks in as he dashes in like a fool, assuring those in danger that he's coming. Earth yells for him to stop, but the thought of playing hero is too tantalizing. He kicks down the door and is followed by his equally dense party members. Earth is taken aback by the lack of safety protocol he's witnessing, but he's not too surprised since they share half a brain cell between them all. He's left with no other option but to run into the darkness too. It slams shut as soon as he enters. A sinister aura surrounds the door. Earth notes that the trap has locked them in the room. He has already deduced that it is the type that won't let them leave until they complete the room's quest. He turns and sees the 2 injured players facing an army of whites and skeleton soldiers. Earth quickly checks to make sure that the area is not littered with traps, and after confirming that none are present, he gets excited because this means he can fight at his full strength. He starts with a Gatling arrow imbued with wind magic. Blue and Pink heal the wounded players while the rest help Earth. The others are eager to join the fight when they are fully recovered, and within a short period they clear the room. The door opens and the two party leaders shake hands as the other guy thanks Red for being a hero. Their attention is brought to a giant chest that appears in the room. The second guy approaches it excited to see what's inside. Earth uses his threat detection, which informs him that chest is extremely dangerous. He tries to warn the guy not to touch it, but he thinks that Earth is laying claim to it because his party saved them. The archer explains that it's a trap, but the guy brags about his thief skills and how he can see that this is not a trap. Earth stands down, which surprises the others. He informs the guys that they should wait until he and the rest are all out of the room if they insist on opening it. The Rangers worry that they will not get any of the rewards, but Blue is the voice of reason, suggesting they just do what Earth says. When they leave, Earth reveals that the room is a double trap. The door closes when the duo open the chest. Their screams can be heard. The second trap eliminates the players due to their greed. The party's 1 hour time is up, so they are transported back to the surface. Blue knows it's rude to ask, but he wants to know if Earth's thief skill is above 20, since he could see that the chest was a trap and the other guy who had the same skill couldn't. Earth reluctantly confirms this, but doesn't tell him his exact number or the fact that it's over 30. Earth is okay with him keeping the little loot they gather, as he's happy with the way his thief skill went up. Green tries to impress everyone with his mapping skills, but they remind him that the floors are randomly generated, so it will be useless the next time they enter. The Rangers are thankful for his help, and they add him as a friend from that run. Earth realizes that for him to reach the 10th floor faster, he needs to quicken his ability to disarm traps. So he heads to the smith to build a lockpick tool, but he's encountering a problem. When he makes it, then it snaps. But if he tries to resolve these issues, the tool comes out too thick. Black sees his predicament and suggests he should make the tip thin, but should keep the shaft thick for stability. Earth is impressed by its performance and thanks Master Smith for teaching him something new. He returns to rest, but plans to head out the following day to make more arrows for his next dungeon run. His thoughts are interrupted when the Queen pops out of nowhere, startling him. She informs him that she's going to give the new adventurers their contract crystals so that they can get fairy companions. After he rejects the fact that they are married, she leaves to perform her duties. The following day, Earth heads out to cut some trees to make arrows, which he completes quickly. He is later joined by the Queen, who looks worn out. She complains about the conduct of some of the new players who tried to court her. She even beat them, but they seemed to enjoy it, which only disturbed her more. She demands Earth sign a marriage certificate to make things official. He takes her mind off the bad experience by making her steamed meat buns, which he unlocked because his cooking skill has reached 50. She enjoys it and even lays on his lap, which he allows this one time. Things continue with Earth finding himself in a dangerous situation as he's being flung into a wall because of a powerful attack. The system informs him that he is stunned, and he complains about how he can't move, and as his body trembles, some footsteps can be heard walking toward him. A menacing skeleton knight emerges from the darkness as Earth recalls how he found himself in this situation. Several days prior, he decided to go into the dungeon solo after making himself a set of tools. The archer aimed to improve his lockpicking and trap disarming skills. He failed a few times as various traps exploded in his face at first. Some attempts even led to his demise, however. After a lot of practice, his thief skill finally reached level 50. Earth is prompted to evolve it into a higher rank skill. There are two paths to choose from. The first is Superior Thief, which is essentially a more powerful version of his current abilities. The other is Benevolent Thief, which allows him to steal from monsters or get bonuses when he performs a sneak attack. These are things that a normal thief can't do. It also complements his playstyle, so he picks to specialize as a Benevolent Thief, even though it requires more experience points to evolve. He received a call from the Red Power Ranger, who informed him that Black had made a return. So Earth joined them for another dungeon run. He and Black bonded over their love for disarming traps. The others looked at them strangely when they got hyped after successfully disarming one. He also continued his solo runs of the dungeon, which only increased his success rate as he began to cash out with loot found. This improved his Benevolent Thief skill too. He also noticed that the monsters are attracted to light, so he turned off his lantern and used his long-distance vision skill, which allowed him to see in the dark. This enabled him to drastically reduce the number of battles that he had to fight so he could go deeper into the dungeon quicker. Earth eventually reached the staircase to the 9th level. He checked his time remaining and he had just over 5 minutes left. He heard from the bootleg Power Rangers that there are liches on this floor. They inflict status effect damage and call nearby enemies to attack. Earth warned himself before proceeding forward. He came across his first ledge and effectively dodged it. The guy used the same tactics and navigated to the staircase of the 10th floor without incident. However, upon his arrival, his threat detection skill showed him the traps that surrounded all paths to the staircase. Earth knew that he didn't have the time to disarm them, so he did a few practice jumps before activating his wind magic to leap over the hazards. The game developers tried to get the last laugh by making it so that his magic would bring him just short. Earth landed on the first trap but refused to let this be the end. He swiftly dodged all the attacks from other traps he detonated on his way to the staircase and narrowly jumped through as a giant stone slab came down and sealed the entrance. Earth landed on his face surprised, but he's more curious as to why he didn't get kicked out of the dungeon. He checked his timer and it paused for 2 milliseconds, which only confused him more. The guy took a break and drank a potion to recover. He thought about what this could mean and concluded that the system has taken it that he had reached the last floor despite only being on the staircase. He got up as it dawned on him that he had arrived at a place that no other player had ever ventured. He slowly made his way down the stairs till a call from a voice got him on high alert and demanded to know who was there. The voice stated that he didn't expect anyone to reach this level alone. He introduced himself as Andra and Knight of the Empire. He held that position a long time ago and informed Earth that the walk down to the bottom is lengthy. The knight pleaded for him to listen to his tale, as it would give him something to think about while he proceeded. His nation ordered him to investigate the labyrinth and seal it away. Andra led a great army inside. However, the monsters and traps slew them all. Even his side chick was taken out, only leaving him in the end. With that distraction gone, he journeyed through the labyrinth alone and reached the deepest room. However, when he entered inside, the door shut behind him and there was nothing there. There wasn't even air, so he passed away. Talk about an anticlimactic ending. Things didn't stay boring as he was transformed into the Skeleton Knight and forced to protect the dungeon. Earth found it ironic that he came to seal the labyrinth and he turned into its guardian. Earth wanted to know if the Room of Disappointment still existed, but Andrew revealed that he had destroyed it. He didn't want anyone else to meet such an unfulfilled demise. It is the definition of one getting an outcome they don't deserve. Earth is impressed that even in death, Andrew still tried to be a noble knight. The ancient soldier informed the player that he would be waiting at the bottom of the stairs. He let Earth know that he wanted the archer to put him to rest. The guy paused for a moment after hearing this. All the while, Andrew explained that he had endured too long as he refused to let his heart become that of a monster. The knight doesn't think he will be able to keep this up much longer. He pleads Earth to free him so that he can be with his comrades. The archer begins to panic as the stairs vanish, which sends him tumbling down screaming. He regained consciousness as the steps of the Skeleton Knight dawned near. He called out to Andra, but his calls were ignored as the knight had been taken over by his monster side. The evil spirit was ecstatic that he got control of his body and sword. Earth stopped the manic laughter with an arrow to the head, but it bounced off the helmet. The skeleton got annoyed with his actions. The archer told him to shut up as he too was enraged. He let another shot loose, which the boss blocked. The monster makes it clear that he will make Earth suffer before he meets his demise. The boss quickly closes the distance in an instant and launches an attack. Earth managed to block, but is confused as to how it traveled that distance in a single instant. The boss strikes again, but the guy blocks with his shield. After he took that blow, Earth internally admitted that his opponent was fast and hard hitter. The evil spirit was happy to see that he was able to fight on the level. He assumed that the player wanted to focus on defending and sliced at him. But Earth gave him that Mayweather slip and burned him with his explosion oil. The boss is offended that he set him ablaze. Earth had him in his sights, revealing that he doesn't intend to only defend. Since he doesn't specialize in close-range combat, he plans to keep his distance and attack. To counter this, the boss unleashed a projectile slash that Earth dodged but lost his bow in the process. He notes that the break arm status has taken effect. The monster followed up with another attack, but Earth dodged. The boss teased him since he didn't have his bow and was ready to end the fight as he told Earth to give up. However, the guy doesn't count himself out of the fight. He activates his bow shield and launches an arrow that the boss dodges. The skeleton found this development to be fun. Earth fired a rapid round of arrows, which the boss easily blocked. This led to an exchange between the two. The boss began to get agitated by his nimbleness. He uses a shield charge to knock Earth back. This brings us to the present. The boss is surprised that he is being made to use this special technique. His eyes glow as he informs Earth that he will send him to his god. He attacks again, but this time the player counters with a swift kick from the dust. Earth discloses that there is no god in this world. He assures the boss that all he will find is players demonstrating their fighting spirit as they struggle to survive. The skeleton demands Earth show his will, and the player dashes toward him, accepting his challenge head-on. He uses his nimbleness as a decoy, allowing him to hold the boss's sword with his metal whip. He uses that leverage to land a strong kick, but it destroys the whip in the process. Earth begins his very long incantation and has so many words that you'd think he was reading the dictionary. He tries to slow down the skeleton's movement with some more wails, but the boss shatters his shield to stop the powerful-looking spell. This is not enough to prevent him from casting the most potent Prism Nova spell. It hits its target, but it only partly damages the boss. Just as it seems like all hope is lost, an illusion of the Fairy Queen appears. Judging from that ring, the skeleton knight wonders if she is his contract partner. The monarch says nothing and casts a high-level ice spell that completely immobilizes the target. She turns and smiles at Earth as he thanks her for the help. The archer sees this opportunity to finish this battle, unleashing every arrow technique in his arsenal, and added 2 explosion oils for good measure. That assault is powerful enough to defeat the evil spirit and liberate Andra. The knight commends Earth for his victory. He reveals that the archer defeated the nefarious entity before his soul disappeared. This has given him a little time to thank him. Earth is just happy to hear that he gave him what he wanted. Andra confesses that it's more than what he hoped for, as he thought that he would have ended his life as a monster. The archer is taken aback by how easygoing he is given the situation. Andra continues his laid-back attitude, revealing that he didn't think Earth stood a chance since he was playing solo. Andra's laughter is cut short when he realizes that he's about to disappear. The knight thanks Earth again for freeing him. As a reward, he gives him his sword even though it's in rough shape. He feels like the archer will make some money selling it as an antique. Earth is expressing his gratitude and humbly accepts it. The knight also tells him that a deity does exist in the game world. Since he has been so fortunate to be saved after so long, his comrades appear behind him to take him up with them. Andra prays that the path Earth walks on is blessed. As soon as they disappear, the door opens and the system informs all players that one of the secret bosses of the event has been defeated. This has unlocked the knight's sword. The weapon is a superior version of the one-handed sword. Weapons in this category have a long reach and high attack power. The announcer points them to the official homepage if they want more details. Meanwhile, Earth can't believe that beating the dungeon unlocked a new weapon. He picked up on the term secret bosses, so he speculates that there may be more weapons unlocked to be found. He leaves the dungeon and later makes his way to the smith shop. The guy accesses his equipment and concludes that the shield and whip can't be repaired. He puts them in the fire and thanks them for their service. He uses the metal to make a new shield. Earth then turns to his bow and bag and can tell they need some TLC. However, he knows it's going to be expensive. He looks at the sword and smiles as he thinks about selling it. Earth goes on a combat hiatus. All the while, a strange lady gets excited at the thought of eating something. All the while, the top brass of the gaming company have meetings to discuss how their actions have impacted the game. It is revealed that the Queen of the Fairies is enjoying herself. They attribute her quick learning to her interaction with Earth. They are grateful that they have such a player. However, it is reported that her younger sister is complaining of boredom. The head of the meeting instructs them to release her so that she can walk a little. During that interval, Earth joins the other members of the blue color on a dungeon raid. Sway expresses his gratitude for him tagging along. The guild master explains that Nora and Kazimini couldn't make it. With Earth's thief skills, they should be able to handle the traps. The archer is a little worried that Nilly is the only healer with Nora absent. She reveals that they will be joined by a new healer. Sway apologizes on her behalf for her lateness. The party warns Earth that this new healer can be a little rude at times. He assures them that he will brush off her care and attitude if it gets directed at him. Sway is appreciative of his understanding since not many players pick the healer and tank role. Eliza's annoying laugh interrupts them. She comments on how they have all come to greet her, but Sway frustratingly informs her that they were rather waiting for her because she was late. The guild leader introduces her by her real name Elizabeth, but points out that they call her Eliza for short. He vouches for her competence as a mage. Sway orders her to come down and apologize to Earth for her lateness, but she refuses as she sees him as a wimpy-looking archer and even wonders if the guy is useful. She drops an ether-level disc stating that he looks so ordinary that he could be mistaken for a generic NPC. We all know that she would have taken it as a compliment. Sui gets irate hearing this, but Earth takes it on the chin since he's already been warned. He only politely alerts her that she can judge his usefulness once they enter the dungeon. He displays his skills quickly when he opens a door with his lockpicks. The party is so grateful that he's on their team as there were a lot of traps that he disarmed on the previous floor. The archer points out that some of them eliminate the player in one hit. Eliza is forced to acknowledge his trap disarming skills, but she refuses to be converted. The party makes it to the 5th floor and Zwei calls for a break, but he's reminded that they are on a timer. Rigi reminds everyone to be careful from this point forward since there are dangerous enemies. The Lesser Lich is one such monster. They are immune to physical attacks and have numerous status effects that stop the player from moving. Some people call them the trauma generators. Millie assures a worried Eliza that they have all the counter spells for these status effects. Everyone is confident that with such a skill, they can deal with one if the need comes. Bert's threat detection skill warns him that there are 4 lesser liches among the monsters. Sui gets the archer to confirm that there are no traps on the floor. The leader orders everyone to take their battle formations, and Millie casts some offensive buffs on the party. Eliza is instructed to prepare an attack spell, but she's too overwhelmed to even process the command. Seeing her shake due to her nervousness makes Earth smile a little. The archer springs into action when the first wave appears by firing his arrow, the others join with their ranged attacks. It deals with the fodder, but it's not enough to take out the liches. Rigi provides some protection with his shield. While he draws their attention, the close combat fighters step in and finishes them. The lady wishes she had a magic sword as it would make things easier. All the while, Rigi gets petrified by the consistent attacks from the remaining liches. Eliza is the only one who can heal him, but she begins to crumble under the pressure. Earth comes in clutch as the party gets overwhelmed when he drops his explosive oil. This disperses the monsters, allowing Eliza to heal Rigi. This allows him to get back on defense, and with the creature weakened, they finish them off. As everyone recovers, Eliza questions Earth as to why he didn't use the explosive oil at the start. He explains that they are unstable, so he doesn't carry many. Zwei interrupts, warning her not to complain to Earth. Millie urges both of them to keep their voices down since there are more monsters nearby. Her tone gets them to comply. Eliza is compelled to apologize for dismissing Earth earlier on, as she is officially on the hype train. Her attitude towards him completely changes as she becomes friendlier with some good teamwork. They make it out of the dungeon in one piece, but without the one piece. Zwei thanks Earth again for joining them as his help was hugely needed. He confesses that he benefited too with all the loot he picked up. As he says his goodbyes to the party, the strange lady watches on and smiles. The following day, Earth checks out the new weapons that have been added. His attention is caught when he sees the mysterious lady. From her features, he already knows that she's not a player avatar. Earth introduces himself, and she just informs him that she's like the little sister of the Fairy Queen. Based on this, he already concludes that she is difficult to deal with. She reveals that she came for other reasons, but the main is to taste his food for herself. Her older sister has informed her about how nice his cooked meals are. He refuses to make her something to eat because he's going to the armor shop. But this lady is so thirsty that she is fine with following him. They proceed to the merchant, where the lady is surprised by the craftsmanship on display. She never thought that humans were capable of work. Mian is appreciative of the compliment and asks Earth about the pretty lady who accompanies him. The guy gets nervous and tells her that it's not what she's thinking and quickly changes the topic back to his need to have his cloak repaired since it's worn down. After a quick inspection, Mian informs him that it's at the end of its lifespan, so it might be more economical to have her make a new one instead of repairing it. Earth is not surprised by this when he recalls the intense fights he has been through recently. He asks Mian if she can craft him some new armor, and she excitedly informs him that she can fulfill any request. He reveals that he has some wild bear pelts and fur. She is happy to hear that, as she loves it when people bring her materials to work with. She requests some metal to aid with the construction of the armor. He adds some silver, and she shows him the wild bear leather set she intends to make. It is reinforced with the silver. The set gives him a bonus to his durability and psyche. Since the order has been placed, the queen's little sister demands he feed her. He makes her parboiled rabbit steak with herbs now that he has gotten to know her. She enjoys it and eats multiple plates. She still refuses to reveal a real name, and his Earth call her whatever he wants. He decides on the name Ryu, which she accepts. She makes it clear that he's the only one permitted to address her with that name. He later makes his way to Black's workshop where they discuss the late announcement updates to hidden game mechanics. Players now specialize in their crafts in order to gain more abilities using their skill. Many part-time blacksmiths have left the workshop. Even though it will make things difficult for him, Earth decides that he is to keep his skills as he enjoys this playing style. He later heads back to Mian to pick up his armor, and he's impressed with the quality. She remarks that it was only possible because of the high grade of materials he brought. He intends to give his old armor a proper send-off when Mian asks about it. She just hopes that he cares for the new one just as he did for the old one. As he makes his way back to base, he is stopped by the Fairy Queen. She has come with a delegation. The topic she wants to discuss with him is sensitive, so she erects a barrier around themselves. She informs him that he will never be allowed to make a contract with any fairies because they love him too much. The monarch was planning on having him make an agreement with one of the 6th grader fairies he sees before him, but they all want to be his partner. This got worse when the general population heard about it, and over 80% wanted to also make a contract with him. To prevent a civil war, she has decided no one will form a contract with Earth. The guy understands the situation. Since he will be at a disadvantage in combat, the Queen gives him 2 unique abilities. One is the 7 falling stars, which is a damage multiplier that activates when he lands 7 consecutive shots on a target. The second is the sacrifice bow. In exchange for 90% of his health and 100% of its magic point, he's able to fire a powerful arrow. It also destroys his currently equipped bow. The Queen wants him to only use this attack in a dire situation, which he agrees to. Before she leaves, she informs him that the path to Fairy Kingdom will be open for all adventurers in the next update. They all express their eagerness to meet in the new area. Things continue as the blue-colored party hangs out with Earth at one of his cookout spots in an alleyway as he prepares the meals for the day's selling. Sway asks him if he has heard about the new advertisement campaign. He explains that there are 4 VR games out now, including the one they are currently playing. There is a fighting game, an FPS shooter, and a mech game. They all require their own specific VR helmet, but the publishers want more customers, so they are working together to make their headsets compatible with all the games. The smell of the food dances through everyone's nose, causing them to close their eyes while he explains. The party leader reveals that the gaming companies are having a 15-day free trial and the Fairy Kingdom expansion will be added on the first day of the promotion. They are sure that there's going to be a surge in the player base, so I thinks that Earth is distracted by the conversation and reaches for the food. But he hits him with his fan, reminding the party leader that the food is for customers. Earth states that he will whack anybody who touches them, and he hands Nora the fan. She already understands her assignment of hitting Zwei. If he does anything stupid again, she does a test hit on him to confirm. Kazamani points out that all guilds will be getting ready to recruit some of their new players. Nora suggests they do the same as she's confident that they could be a solid medium-sized guild if they wanted to. However, they must get Eliza in line first, otherwise, new members would have a rough time if they joined. Everyone thinks about her presence during the dungeon run and recalls that Earth saved her. Zwei brings his attention to Earth, asking him to officially join the guild. The archer rejects the offer and apologizes for doing so consistently. He explains that it's because he wants to play unrestrictedly. Internally, the guy reveals that there are some things that he would prefer if other players didn't find out about. Some information about the Queen and her sister is given as an example. It's almost like his thoughts summon Ryu. She appears out of nowhere, excited to taste the new item on his menu. She reaches for a quick bite, but Earth is faster with his fan as he swipes it from Nora and whacks the dragon on the head. He informs her that it's a new item for customers, and she doesn't think it's fair that she can only look at the delicious meat. He fans her off because he is sure that she will eat at least 15 of the steaks if he lets her taste one. She gets offended that he's calling her a glutton, and they clash heads as she informs him that he will regret saying that. The other party members watch on, puzzled. Millie politely interrupts, wanting to know who the stranger before them is because she has never seen an outfit like that before. The mage also notes that the newcomer doesn't look like a fairy. While Earth tries to think of an explanation, he fends off another attempt by Ryu to eat his food. Rigi shockingly asks if the Queen of the Fairies is not enough for Earth, so he has added this one too. Hearing this pains bias, he's not as popular with the ladies. The archer hits them both with his fan and weapon, warning them not to start getting any weird ideas. Earth complains that Ryo eats too much, that he's recording losses. If he could pass her to them, he would. On the other hand, The ladies in the guild huddle together as they discuss how close Earth and Ryu seem. The newcomer overhears them and warns the girls that only Earth can call her by that name. She has no intention of letting anyone else use it. Zwei opens his screen looking to put his encounter with Ryu in the game for him, but Earth's threat to never cook for him again stops him in his tracks. Nora teases the archer, calling him a dragon babysitter. They find his path in life to be interesting since he was a fairy player during the last event. Earth wonders what would happen if he went to the fairy kingdom in his current condition. He explains the layout of the new area. It is south of Nexia and has a castle at its center with towns spreading out in a cross shape. There are forts at each point which serve as checkpoints the day that the area is open to the player finally comes. Plenty of players made their way to the new kingdom. Going by foot is currently the conventional way to get to the fairy realm. Since everyone is heading there and allows for the opportunity to talk to new players, Earth arrives at the North Fort. He's approached by a fairy as he waits in line with everyone else. The guy pleads to take a closer look at the ring on his left hand. He remembers the queen telling him during their last meeting that the ring she gave him would serve as a pass when he arrived at the kingdom. The fairy examines it as he shows it like a woman who has been recently proposed to. He confirms it to be the queen's ring and introduces himself as the leader of the North Fort. He pulls him to the side to have a word. He reveals that the queen has requested he be brought to her immediately. This makes everyone in the line to stare at the unique scenario. Earth begins to get uncomfortable as everyone's eyes are glued to him. Things get even more bizarre when a big bird makes an appearance. It gets close to Earth as the boss of the fort explains that the creature before him is a pikasha. It is a bird that only a select few fairies are permitted to ride. The creature moves very quickly. He pleads that Earth ride it to the castle town. All the archer can think about is how full the feathers are. The guy is sure that it's going to be comfortable, and the other players start to get a little jealous that they will not get the chance to ride it. He quickly climbs on it, and is not disappointed about how fluffy it is. The bird jets off when he gets comfortable. As they begin their journey, Earth feels like the pikasha has put up a barrier to block the wind. The place is not as windy as he thought it would be. He feels like flying up in the sky in this manner is like something out of a real fantasy story. They soar over one of the towns and proceed to the central castle, which comes into view as the sun sets. The pikasha gently lands, and shortly after, a door opens as the queen and the 6 greater fairies come out. Earth lands on the floor and thanks the monarch for the warm welcome. He decides to stay formal for this interaction. She informs him that they have prepared a small parade to commemorate his arrival. Just like most of us, he doesn't like being the center of attention, but he enjoys the sights of the cheering crowd, fireworks, and displays from rare creatures. The following day, he has an audience with the queen where he thanks her again for the welcome. He feels like she went a little overboard, but the queen explains that the point of the parade was to make sure every fairy in the kingdom knew he had arrived. They have all been waiting for him. She blushes as she reveals that there were rumors that she would keep him all to herself. The monarch becomes bashful at the thought, and she changes the topic as she expresses her appreciation if he were to stay in their country for a little while. She promises that they will not ruin his day by assigning an escort. Earth is appreciative of that and hopes to get back to being a normal adventurer the next day. He's excited to head back to the fort town so that he can begin his exploration. With that settled, the queen brings his audience to an official close. Day breaks, and as Earth walks around in his Tyrannosaurus Rex 1000s, he comments on how this is the longest he has ever been logged in. The queen suggests he gets some rest in her quarters next to her, but he ain't no simp, so he promptly jumps out of the window and out of the castle. He takes a ride to the South Fort town on the pikasha. He chose the south side because it was the furthest side from Nexia. This meant that there were fewer players in the area. After staying there for a while and getting accustomed with its people, he one day enters a tavern informing the innkeeper that he has defeated the 8 high rabbits she requested. Everyone is shocked to hear this as they expected it to take him a couple of days to complete the task. She wants to know if he encountered any thief birds. Sweat rolls down the back of his neck as he confirms his encounter. The guy explains that after he shot a high-level rabbit, the bird swooped in and tried to steal his prey, so he popped it down. The innkeeper is impressed by his archery ability. Earth requests a place to cook, and she shows him the kitchen at the back. His offer to pay rent for using it shocks the attendant. As Earth cooks his hunt, he reveals that the tavern attendant also works as a quest giver. The building also has an inn on the 2nd floor, so he has decided to stay for a while and use the place as his base as he completes quests. He simply seasons the meat and is surprised by how good it tastes. He makes kebabs with the thief bird, and lastly, he makes a rabbit hamburger steak with a mix of both meats. The fairies smell the food and can't help but comment on how nice human food looks. Earth offers to serve them some in exchange for payment. They are more than willing to pay, and not before long, the place is packed with fairies enjoying their food. Some of the dishes even triggered them to take more feet juice. Earth didn't expect to be cooking commercially after coming to the fairy kingdom. For the next few days, his play's cycle consisted of doing quests, cooking what he hunted and eating, and being jolly with everyone. He was having a lot of fun till one day one of the customers barges in warning the tavern attendant to hide Earth. The fort leader's arrogant daughter is on her way. She quickly asks Earth to hide. The lady should be called the death of the party because the place goes quiet when she enters. She has heard that there is a human who cooks strange food and demands they bring him to her immediately. She is willing to give him the honor of being her private chef. Earth overhears her waffling and finds her wording to be extremely arrogant. The innkeeper apologizes as she informs her that he has already left. The boss's daughter hopes that they are not lying to her because she knows that Earth wouldn't want to miss the chance to cook for her. The attendant reveals that he left to attend to urgent business in the east. The lady orders her attendants to get her the information of every adventurer who is heading east. She will not allow such a chef to leave the city without cooking for her at least once. Her men are to find and bring him to her. Before leaving, she asks the attendant to inform her if she gets any information. The people insult the boss's daughter when the coast is clear. The attendant lets Earth know that it's safe to come out. She apologizes for pretending not to know who he is. The queen gave an order that they are not to act normal when they encountered him. She reveals that the boss's daughter causes a lot of problems due to her personality. Her father never punishes her for her selfishness, but rather spoils her. Earth decides to leave the town for now, but he enjoyed his time. Under the cover of darkness, he leaves the city. The guards manning the gate reveal that they are gathering evidence to report the lady's behavior to the queen and plead for him to come back when things die down. They open the door and a customer waits for him. The giant bear offers to give him a ride to his next destination because his cooking is delicious and it wants to provide this service as a thank you. All the while, word reached the queen about the behavior of the southern fort leader's daughter. The monarch is livid to hear that she has her sights on Earth. The story continues with their arrival in the southern town. Earth apologizes for making Zeton run the whole night. The bear assures him that there's no need for him to show remorse because such a feat is nothing for him. Earth is relieved to hear this and expresses his gratitude. The guy notices people playing instruments in the town center and wonders if this is a new trend he was not told about. Zeton explains that all the towns inside the fairy kingdom love to promote the arts, and to the north is the city of literature. To the east is the land of painting. The people of Rangelos are to the west, and they specialize in sculpting. Finally, they are currently at Schubert in the south, and it's a town of music. Earth is certain that he can hear all kinds of compositions just by walking through the streets. The lack of sleep finally catches up to him as he yawns. He acknowledges that he needs some rest, and Zeton reveals that he's got a place that he always goes to when he's in town. They arrive there and Earth presents plenty of letters of introduction, which impresses the innkeeper. He also expresses that the fact that he has been personally brought by wild-haired Zeton means that he must open his doors for Earth. The player is confused about the wild-haired epithet. Zeton pleads with the innkeeper to stop uttering that nickname as it's embarrassing. The host just laughs off his complaint and points to their rooms, which happen to be next to each other. As Earth enters his room, he says his goodbyes to the bear by addressing him by his nickname, but the creature pleads for him to stop. The player jumps straight to bed and is grateful that he was saved by a fairy famous enough to have his own nickname. He logs out to allow his avatar to get some rest. After some time, Earth wakes back up as he logs in again. The excitement of doing some adventuring puts a giant smile on his face. However, this is quickly wiped off when he realizes that he can't move. He wonders if this is a game bug, but he rules that out when he realizes that there is someone else in his bed. He checks his dovet to find the fairy queen in his sheets with a scary look on her face. He pleads for her to get off him because he doesn't want anyone to get the wrong idea if they were to see the situation. The queen clings onto him, remarking that he's not going to like her anymore, so she will never let go. Earth is surprised by her behavior. The innkeeper hears the commotion and lets himself in to offer the player breakfast as he assumes that he's awake. The old man gets startled when he sees a female clinging onto Earth and apologizes for interrupting whatever the hell is going on. He excuses himself and tells them that he will be back later. On the other hand, Earth wordly calls for the innkeeper to rescue him. Zeton overhears and rushes and looking to save him from the danger. His alarm changes to an expression of approval when he concludes that Earth has rised up a lady already. He vehemently denies bringing her to his room and pleads them to help him get her off. The queen shows her face when she says that Earth will leave the kingdom if she lets go. The bear and innkeeper are shocked to see that it's their queen clinging to the player like a fangirl at a Chris Brown concert. Ryu suddenly turns up and stands getting jealous of the scene before her. Earth can't think of a worse time for her to show up. The other two can't believe that a Dragonian is before them. The queen explains that she has come to apologize for the situation that happened at the southern fort. She dealt with it by punishing the leader of the fort and his daughter and all 80 of his soldiers. Earth is curious to know how she punished them. With a mischievous look, she reveals that she summoned them to a special area that did near-lethal damage to them 30 times and healed them 29 times. The pain shattered their minds. She also demoted the girl to the lowest rank of soldier. Zeton notes that she left them with the damage on her last attack. The thought of the punishment causes all the color to leave their bodies. Ryu is not surprised by her older sister's actions. Earth assures her that the residents at the fort are very accommodating, so he doesn't dislike the kingdom or anything. The queen is ecstatic to hear that Ryu gets annoyed with her and drags her out. Before they leave, they stop their antics and properly say their goodbyes to him. The queen apologizes to the innkeeper for causing a scene. Zeton is surprised to see that he's a friend of Dragonian. The old man discloses that the fairies once warred with other nations and the Dragonians are the ones they fought the deadliest battles with. The bear reveals that the whole city will be in an uproar if they find out that a Dragonian is in town, so they decide to keep that under wraps. The innkeeper excuses himself and Zeton informs Earth of his wish to have a pretty girl fall in love with him too. A knock on the door catches their attention. A lady comes in looking for Zeton and apologizes for the intrusion. She desperately informs them that her daughter is missing. Earth calms her down by giving her a hot drink and asks her to explain the situation. The lady introduces herself as Karen. Zeton recognizes the last name as that of a famous noble family. Karen explains that her daughter routinely goes for a walk at the same time every day. However, today she has yet to return. The mother went looking for her but was not able to find her. Zeton notes that their family can switch between their human and wolf forms whenever they want, so he's confident that a monster couldn't hurt her even if she was attacked. It is because of this fact that makes Karen worried that something terrible might have happened to her. She gives them a picture of her daughter and promises to pay Zeton for his efforts. The bear accepts and Earth also offers his assistance too. Karen promises to reward Earth for his trouble. This lady isn't your average Karen. The duo set off to look for their missing person and Earth is a little guilty that he's also getting paid because he wanted to do this to show his appreciation for the lift. They continue to ask around until they get a leave from a guard, who saw her heading into the woods just outside the city. As they go deeper, Earth uses his monster detection skill to pick up on the 4 beasts around them. They dispatch the goblins when they pop out to attack. Zeton is impressed with his companion's skill and Earth is surprised by how powerful the bear is. The player opens his maps to search for another life form on the maps apart from monsters. He strikes gold when he spots a group of creatures close to 2 other life forms. The duo rush to the location. Earth activates his long-distance vision and spots Karen's daughter, Mina, fending off some goblins despite being badly hurt. Earth gives Zeton a potion to be poured on Mina after he breaks past the goblins. Earth provides backup from a safe distance, while the bear dashes in to clear a path to the lady. He spills the potion on her, which instantly heals her. Zeton and Mina team up. The bear promises to protect her if things get bad, and they swiftly dispatch the monsters. Earth joins them soon after the battle finishes. The bear commends him again for the support as it makes the fight easier. Mina thanks them for saving her. Zeton informs her that they were hired by her mother to find her, and they introduce themselves to the noble lady. She recognizes Zeton's name and confirms his identity by uttering his nickname. This makes the bear a bit shy. Mina feels so privileged to be saved by a famous person. Earth can see that tangled look in her eyes and interrupts. He wants to know why she didn't transform, as it would have been easier for her to fight the monsters. She explains that she smelled something sweet in the air while walking. Things suddenly went hazy, and by the time she came to her senses, she was surrounded by goblins. She also couldn't transform. After hearing this, Earth gives her a potion to drink before she tries to transform again. She does just as instructed and is able to transform, which takes her by surprise. Earth confirms his suspicions that she was poisoned because what he gave her was an anti-poison potion. He has her turn to her human form so that Zeton can carry her back to town. He lies to them that he wants to rest a little before returning. The bear doesn't argue and leaves. He only tells Earth not to stay out too late. As soon as the fairies leave, he confronts the person in the bushes. Earth points out the expensive-looking equipment the goblins were holding, which was abnormal. They also fought as a team, and it is only a human player that could have made them do so. He guesses that the culprit must have poisoned the feigner to weaken it. Earth throws a potion at the bush, forcing the player to come out. He doesn't know the intentions of the bad actor, but he is sure that if he lets him go, he will ruin the relationship between humans and fairies, and this could even lead to a war. The evildoer tries to attack Earth, but he shows the difference in their skills when he eliminates him with ease. He is willing to beat anyone who looks to break the peace without mercy, even if that person is a human. As he makes his way back to town, he meets Zetin and Mina waiting for him in the forest. The bear just wants to know if he caught his rat. Earth confirms this, so they finally reach home, where the mother and daughter are rekindled. Karen expresses her gratitude and decides to pay them 100,000 glow each. Earth is bold and pleads for another request, which his partner protests because the payment is good. The player ignores him and speaks his request. He would like the opportunity for Mina and Zetin to spend some quality time together. The bear blushes at the quest as Earth adds that Mina is smitten by the wild-haired hero. I have to say, this move gives him Wingman of the Year in my books. She confesses her interest when she says that she has always wanted to meet him. She hugs him with excitement to spend some quality time with him. The human pushes them, hoping that they will work out the details of their date. As soon as the coast is clear, he calls the queen and explains the situation to her. She thanks him for his prompt dealing with the threat and informs him to investigate it. He warns her not to try and reward him for his help this time. She promises not to, and he just hopes that she sticks to it. After resting, he decides to head back to the player area to restock his supplies and mend his bow. Zetin comes down, and it seems like his link-up with Mina was a success because she wants him to move in with her. They head off to prepare for their new life together. Zetin and Earth say their goodbyes and promise to work together again. The innkeeper is surprised when Earth summons Pikasha to send him back home. However, he pleads with the creature to drop him out on the outskirts because he doesn't want to cause a commotion. As a show of gratitude, Earth makes a feast for the bird, which it eats and enjoys. The creature gives him one of its feathers, which happens to be a legendary accessory that has a lot of power effects. He goes back to the smith, where he meets Blacks. Earth works on a new bow, coating it with light metal, which gives it greater attack power. Earth later heads out to try his new bow when he gets a breaking announcement. He is offered the chance to participate in a PvP event for exclusive weapons, since he was one of the key figures who helped defeat the labyrinth. He rejects it because he doesn't want the attention. A loud cry from the woods forces him to rush inside because he has never heard of a cry like that before. He arrives to meet some players unconscious as a hatched baby dragon cries. Things continue as Earth approaches the scene. The unconscious people disappear, making him wonder if they were NPCs. Before long, he's confronted by the baby dragon and decides that it wouldn't be right to abandon it. He casually picks it up and cradles it in his arms as it tries to communicate with him. He guesses that it might be hungry, so he checks his inventory and selects a nice piece of raw meat, which it quickly begins to eat. The player lets out a sigh of relief that it's eating, but now he wonders what he's to do with it. He contemplates heading back to the first town, but he quickly dismisses that destination when he imagines the large crowd that would gather when they spot the dragon. He thinks of going to the fairy kingdom. However, there is a chance that bringing a dragon there will cause a huge problem given the history between the two races. The baby breaks his trail of thought, so he decides to accept his new responsibility and get more food. This is a favorable situation because he came out to test his new bow in the first place. He hunts what he needs to and gives the infant dragon raw meat to munch on while he prepares a few dishes. As he sits to eat his soup, the creature tugs on his clothing, wanting some. He concedes and fetches a portion for it. After a short while, the baby red dragon sleeps, leaving a whole load of empty dishes. Earth can't believe his eyes as he recalls how much she ate. He smiles because he hears helping people that one meets on their journey is good. He decides to call the queen to hear her opinion on the situation. The guy informs her that they have a problem and points to the sleeping baby dragon. She lets out a scream of terror, wondering what a baby red dragon is doing in her domain. From her reaction, Earth has confirmed his suspicion that this is a big deal. He explains the whole situation to her, and the queen doesn't hide the fact that this is a big problem. She reveals that wild dragons never leave the borders of their kingdom. This is so that their terrible powers don't cause needless conflict. Earth is interested to know if these wild dragons are different from regular ones. She discloses that they are both extremely powerful. However, the other dragons have learned to control their powers and are starting to understand how to get along with other races. The wild dragons have given up on controlling its powers and has isolated themselves instead. What makes matters worse is that it's a red dragon. They are much stronger than the others, so they are the symbol of their nation. The royal family of the wild dragon kingdom is this color. Earth begins to get worried now, as it seems like the royal child was kidnapped by some bad actors. The queen worries that they will go on a rampage if they find out what happened. They are soon joined by one of the great fairies, who informs the queen that red dragons are heading to their location at top speed. She suggests they return to the castle immediately. The fairy notices the baby dragon sleeping and calls the queen stupid before asking her what has she done by kidnapping a red dragon baby. The monarch gets annoyed by being called stupid because there is no way she would do such a reckless thing. Her subordinate wants to know why it's in their territory. Earth interrupts just as she's about to explain because he wants to know what direction these dragons are coming from. They make their way there as soon as they are given the location to wait for the creatures. The baby dragon rests on Earth's head as they nervously wait. After some time, the dragons come into view. Their heavy landing makes the ground shake, which also wakes up the young one. Earth can't believe how big they are and is sure that if one goes on a rampage it would be a disaster. The father lifts his hand ready to attack as he asks Earth if he's the one who kidnapped their child. He winces in pain a little as the loud voice of the creature rings in his head directly. The queen steps forward to try to reason with them, but the annoyed dragon tells her to be quiet. She does just that and returns to her standing place. The adult dragon moves closer as the father states that they are talking to Earth, so he demands an answer. Earth confesses that he doesn't know why his child was kidnapped, but he informs them that the culprits likely met their demise. He simply found the baby and took care of it. The dragon doesn't believe his words, but Earth insists that it's the truth. Daddy Dragon orders him to bring his child to him if he is able to do that. The beast will believe his word out of respect for his courage. Earth doesn't hesitate and steps up, placing the child on the father's claw. After a while, the red dragon calms down and apologizes to Earth. They inform Earth that they have seen their child's memories when he placed the baby on his claw. The words that Earth spoke were the truth. Both the queen and him let out a sigh of relief. The father is impressed that he fed his child and apologizes again for needlessly suspecting him. To express this, the father asks Earth to request anything he wants. He takes up the offer and pleads that the dragons don't hold the fairy kingdom responsible for what happened. He also wants the dragons to pretend that they never met. The other dragon addresses him for the first time. She understands why he would want to protect the fairies, but she is confused as to why he would want them to pretend like they never met. Earth explains that he prefers peace, so he would not like to attract attention if people were to find out that he's associated with them. They respect his wishes and decide to grant them. The dragon says their goodbyes and dashes back to their lands with their child. The queen thanks Earth for thinking about the fairy kingdom during his request. She pleads with him to come to the castle if he's not doing anything so that she can properly give her gratitude. The guy prepares to head back to one of the towns to get some work done. She respects his schedule and insists that he take a ride on Picasha. She also assures him that no one in the kingdom will hear of this incident. Not long after, he finds himself at the East Fort town and heads straight to the local tavern to find some work, but there are none posted on the notice board. The innkeeper sees that he's a newcomer and informs him that all the jobs have been taken by adventurers. She offers him work when she sees that he's eager. He can provide his services while he stays the night. He takes the offer, but soon comes to regret it as he's worked to the bone serving customers, cooking food and washing dishes. By the end of the shift, he is exhausted and the innkeeper pays him for his work just before he heads back to his room. All the while, the executives have another meeting and they unanimously decide to continue running the game. The results seen are spectacular. The conversation moves to the fairy queen and Ryu. Their behavior has improved for the better since they began to interact with Earth. One of the executives confesses that he's been so focused on showing the game world to his daughter to realize that there is someone like that in their world. Another exec states that she knows of Earth because she too is a player. Earth is also one of the reasons why they should continue operating the game because his actions help them train their AI. Back in the fantasy world, Earth gets a notification announcing Silver and his 5-man party as the winners of the PV tournament. The veteran defeated Glad and Ione party to take the 20 million glow reward. Earth is happy to see that an ally won, but he is more joyful that he gets to enjoy the breeze while relaxing in the open field. He notes that it has been some time since he has taken it easy and expresses that this is the kind of life he wanted for himself when he first started playing the game. However, he has been attracting attention instead. He sees the positives in the adventures he has been able to undertake because of this attention. It reminds him of the times he used to run around playing when he was a kid, but as he got older he got busy with work and didn't get the chance to exercise. It led to him being depressed because he was out of shape. This game has helped him deal with these negative feelings. He begins to cry thinking about everything he's been through and is grateful that he gets to have these crazy experiences with his new off-the-wall friends. As he thinks about them, he confesses that he has been harsh on them and needs to be a bit nicer. He makes his way to the eastern city of Susanna, where he is summoned by the queen urgently. After slapping the queen on the head for messing around, he turns to the stranger sitting across from him, wondering who he is. He was hoping the queen would introduce him, but he does it himself. The guy reveals himself to be a green dragon. They are wild dragons that have the power to control the wind. Earth thought that wild dragons avoided contact with other races. The creature explains that green dragons are an exception. They are less powerful than their other kin. However, they make up for it with their superior speed and agility. They can also take human form, and because of these traits, they often serve as messengers. Earth wants to know why he was summoned. The only thing he can think of is the incident with the baby dragon, but they agreed to pretend that never happened. The green dragon acknowledges this, but reveals that the baby has refused to eat since returning to the kingdom. If Little Red is to develop into its full potential, it needs to eat. The most the dragon eats is half what a normal dragon her age eats. She also asks those who can turn to humans to teach her how to do so. He has come to find out if Earth has an idea what happened to her. He comments on how much she ate when he found her. The queen speculates that it might be because his cooking is too good, so he lists the meals he made for the dragon. The green dragon has never heard of such food before. Earth decides to make some of the dishes, and when the dragon tastes it, he understands why the little dragons stopped eating their food. He and the queen ask for seconds, but Earth informs them that he is out of ingredients. The dragon is willing to gather what is needed because he can't return to his kingdom without a solution. Earth makes a box full of meals for the baby red dragon, so the messenger quickly leaves. The queen speculates that his interaction with the creatures has made them more diplomatic. Earth escapes the queen's house when she tries to offer him a room to rest in. Meanwhile, the green dragon returns with the food and everyone is surprised to see her eating the strange cooking. Even the messenger salivates watching her eat because he wants some. Over the next several days, the messenger tries to replicate the dish. He has managed to get the looks, but he can't quite get the taste. He concludes that it would be impossible without learning the basics as he paces around wondering if he should ask the king for permission to learn from Earth. Another dragon watches him. Things continue as an old green dragon called Amel arrives at the fairy kingdom just as Earth logs back into the game. He opens his eyes and is stunned by the queen lying next to him. The guy wonders if she has been hugging him since the last time he logged out. He performs a suplex straight out of WWE to wake her up, which she complains about. He then ties her up before she can disturb him further. Earth escapes into the streets where he's given ultimate respect by guards who stop to salute him as he passes. Perhaps it's because he's rocking the new Tyrannosaurus Rex 8000s. Earth is not comfortable with this preferential treatment, but he dismisses his feelings for now as leveling his whip and kicking skills is the important thing. He is stopped by Emil as he makes his way to replace the thorn whip he used on the queen to escape. The dragon introduces himself and tries to confirm that he's speaking to Earth, but he informs Emil that he has the wrong guy. The old man is certain that he has the right person because he fits the description. Earth explains that plenty of players have a similar build. He doesn't want to be identified or get involved because he can tell by Emil's aura that he's another wild dragon. He excuses himself and is certain that his encounter with the baby red dragon is the reason why he has had so many wild dragons showing up around him recently. Although he acknowledges these actions, he feels like he has fulfilled whatever responsibility they caused. He does not want to spend any more time being forced to cook for the wild dragons. Earth sees himself as an adventurer and not some VR Gordon Ramsay. The player does his shopping and looks for an inn to spend the night when he's confronted by Emil and the queen. The dragon confronts him for lying while the queen slates him for tying her up, but he still sticks to the story that Emil has the wrong mofo. He uses his wind magic to leap to the rooftop and find an inn from that vantage point. He rushes to get inside so that he can log out. The Queen informs Emil that they must prevent Earth from getting inside the inn, otherwise he will escape. They dash to stop him, but they are too slow as Earth quickly gets a key from the innkeeper and heads into his room. He lets out a big sigh of relief as he falls into bed. The guy concludes that he can't stay in the fairy kingdom anymore as he logs out. He returns to the world the following day and apologizes to the innkeeper for all the fuss he caused. The NPC wants to know what crime he committed because the Queen has put out a warrant for his arrest. He is surprised to hear this and turns around to see posters of him depicting him in a negative light. Seeing this enrages Earth, so he marches to the Queen's residence and blows the doors to her office. A red aura emanates from his body as he confesses that he didn't think the Queen would go as far as to put out a warrant for him. He feels like she has gone too far and lets her know that these actions have angered him. The Queen tries to explain, but he cuts her off to further express his disappointment because he thought that she knew him better. He demands she remove the ring she placed on him and turns to Emil to inform him that he's never cooking for their species again, so he should leave. The dragon wants to know what will happen if he refuses to dip. Earth tells him straight that he is prepared to throw hands. The player can see that Emil is arrogant because he wields great power. Earth points out that he should have respected his wishes after he saved their princess, but instead, they keep making more demands. Emil gets annoyed that he called the dragons arrogant and offers for them to take their disagreement outside so that he can put Earth back in his place. Earth doesn't back down as he promises to blast a hole in the old man's smud face. They make their way to a secluded place to fight. Emil enters his dragon form and gives Earth a chance to attack first, since it would be dishonorable for him as a wild dragon to strike the first blow. The guy doesn't waste time and fires an arrow, but it does no damage. The dragon informs him that he doesn't stand a chance as he launches his first attack. Earth jumps up to evade as he accepts that most of his attacks won't even scratch the tough armor of the dragon. He also knows that he will be in big trouble if he takes a single hit. This becomes a reality when Emil flies up and knocks him down. Earth contemplates using the suffocation herb, but he rethinks using it because it could eliminate him too if the wind blows back at him. He decides to shatter the creature's scales with 2 arrows since he's piercing it, but that attack doesn't work either. Emil reveals that a dragon's scales are unbreakable as he goes in for another attack. Earth quickly activates his shield parry and barely manages to block the assault as he's sent flying. His shield shatters before his eyes, which makes the dragon laugh. Emil suggests that the shield sacrifice itself to protect its master in one last show of loyalty. Earth remembers all the battles the shield has protected him through and can't believe it's gone now. He views it as Emil eliminating one of his partners. He uses this as motivation to stand up and fight. The dragon is surprised that he can still stand up and fight. Earth pours a healing potion on himself and plans his next attack with renewed conviction. Emil also decides to get serious and prepares to shoot a fire blast. Earth quickly counters by jumping and unloading several bottles of his helming oil into the dragon's mouth. He also takes some significant damage from the explosion as his HP rapidly dwindles. Earth is surprised that he's still alive after landing. He notices that the dragon is dazed from his attack and follows up with the 7 falling star technique. Each arrow hits a body part of the dragon and is accompanied by a planet-themed explosion. Earth is a little shocked that the dragon survived that assault when Emil lets out a roar promising the player that he will regret launching that attack. The creature projects a wind attack that blows away parts of the landscape. Earth manages to use wind boost to find shelter behind a giant boulder and uses sneak to hide his presence. He knows that the only way for him to win this fight is to use the second technique bestowed on him by the Queen. The guy is a little reluctant because it means he will lose his bow, which he has had for a long time. But he makes the decision and combines his life force magic and feelings into the bow. This creates a powerful arrow. Emil is stunned to see him alive as Earth alerts him that this attack will make him realize that dragons are not invincible. The dragon notes that Earth will also perish if he fires that arrow. The guy is aware of this fact because the name of the attack is Sacrifice Bow. Emil puts up a wind barrier to block the arrow, but it overcomes his defense and puts a nice hole through his body. Earth thanks his weapon for everything as it disappears. He can't believe that the dragon still lives after taking that attack. He detonates multiple helming oils. The scene changes to the company's boardroom as the executives have another meeting regarding Earth's battle against the dragon. It is revealed that Emil was the weakest dragon in terms of stats, but his old age was a factor. They contemplate nerfing Earth's oil, but some point out how that will discourage players from creating new things. They are even more shocked by how Earth was willing to sacrifice himself to win. Even though it's a VR game, it is very realistic. We learn that Earth defeated the dragon but lost his life in the process. His spirit watches over his body as he waits to be teleported to the last place he logged out. The king of the dragons arrives on the battlefield with his entourage. The creature applies an ointment on Earth's body, which gives him the option to be revived. He accepts the offer and asks the king why he revived him before his comrade. The red dragon apologizes for the situation. He explains that Emil was a green dragon elder that got arrogant and began to mistreat others. He threatened to destroy the fairy and the human talents if the queen didn't put out a warrant for him. Earth is surprised to hear that the queen only put the warrant out to protect her subjects. The king of the dragons reveals that they came to ensure Amor received punishment for his actions. They are impressed to see that Earth defeated him. The monarch assures Earth that they would have ripped Amor apart themselves if the player hadn't beat him. The red dragon also presents him with some rewards for the cooking he did for the princess. A few of the gifts are his way of apologizing for the Amor situation. The system shows Earth the items in their dragon scale light armor set, 800,000 glow, and a mysterious bow. Earth tries the armor and can't believe how much more agile he is with it on. He also removes the bow, but he can't see the stats. The Dragon King reveals that it belonged to a fairy he faced in combat. It is a strange weapon that only recognizes those who meet its condition. Even though Earth can't equip it now, the red dragon hopes that one day the weapon will open its heart to him. The monarch knows that they need to win Earth's trust for the sake of his daughter. Earth collapses from exhaustion as soon as the dragons leave. He calls Pikasha to give him a lift back to town where he buys a new cape to match his outfit before proceeding to the queen's palace. He's informed that the queen fell into a state of shock after seeing how angry Earth became. He has an audience with the queen who becomes animated when she sees him. She apologizes, but Earth assures her that there is no need because the Dragon King already informed him that she did it to protect her people. The player regrets his childish behavior, but the queen points out that this incident has made her realize that some of her interactions with him are inappropriate. As a way of apologizing, she is willing to do anything he asks. Earth pleads with her to seal the powers of the ring she gave to him. He doesn't like the special treatment and prefers to be low-key. The queen respects his decision and seals it. He promises her that they will see each other someday, but for now, he's heading back to the human kingdom. He says goodbye to the fairyland before he walks away with his head up, bringing the season to an end.